Welcome to tonight's show. Now imagine a camera that can see hundreds of meters at night. Now that's what we needed to catch the criminals who play one of the most dangerous games on earth, dodging police and killer electric currents and costing the country millions in the process. Next time your power cuts out, don't blame it on the rain. The people behind these blackouts have names and faces, and they take ridiculous chances in the dead of the night to cut live cables. Yet they're being watched. Tatama chance, they say. These overhead lines carry 132,000 volts of electricity. That's approaching half the power of a lightning strike. One small slip when cutting them and you're literally fried. This risk doesn't deter cable thieves. However, a group of private investigators working closely with Eskom is determined to stop them stealing cables for their copper and aluminium content. Jan Volmerans and Fritz Kommer do the field work. Quite a task to monitor over 300,000 kilometers of lines crisscrossing South Africa. It seems impossible to police. So you can't cover it physically, eh? You've got to go on information.
You go on information and we identify the hotspot areas. Usually they're going for specific cable in specific areas.
And then basically you work on instinct. A lot of time it's instinct, what you learned during the years.
Every scenario is different, but the way the thieves cut the conductor stays the same. Their tools are quite rudimentary, but incredibly effective. A piece of rubber tube, a saw, and a piece of wood.
Gewoonlik met 'n karrekke wat hulle tube-rekke wat hulle sny. En druk hulle hom teen die kragdraad vas en saag hulle hom met hom.
Despite all the years of undercover work on carte blanche, this project posed a special challenge. We needed to film the thieves in action. But of course, they work at night. To film the thieves while they're actually cutting the cable seemed impossible at first. But then we found a camera, a very special camera that doesn't use film or videotape. It works on temperature differences. It can see 1,000 meters. It can see right through this porcelain jar. Take a look at this. On our video camera, you see a porcelain jar. On the special camera, you can actually see the water level. It's called thermal imaging. Yanni is a specialist in operating this infrared camera. Many major companies in South Africa use it as a maintenance tool. This image will look the same during night time. So what do we actually see here?
The contrast between hot and cold.
Okay, she's smoking. We're seeing that big flare there, so that's very hot.
And the glass of cold water.
Glass is cold and her fingertips are cold.
Yes, the fingertips, because the heat actually got transmitted from the glass to her fingers.
And with this camera you can see a little bit of a dribble there.
Yeah.
Can't get away with a thing here, eh?
No,
Eh?
can't hide anything with it.
And if I was hiding, say, behind a bush here, would you actually be able to detect me?
Yes, I will be able to detect you. Because your temperature is higher than the temperature of the bush.
Aided by this infrared technology, we set off to catch the thieves. The investigators depend on the community to bring them closer to their targets because it all works on tip-offs. However, the information is often vague and inaccurate. Cell phones work overtime.
I believe there was one about
And a string of backup team members are drawn in to track the syndicates. The cable thieves operate mostly in remote areas, and they know that sometimes the cables are fitted with alarms. Leon van den Berg of Eskom explains.
They target mostly lines in those remote areas so that they can see when there's reaction to an alarm, and they immediately then just withdraw from the scene.
The big thing is you have to wait and be very patient so that you hit them on the right time.
The cable thieves operate with a night watch. Locating them is the first step in working out where a theft is about to take place. Once the night watch is located, the others aren't too far off. The night watch's task is to tip off the others if and when the police arrive. Here one thief is clearly making his way up the pole on the horizon. Now to get closer.
And then approach the area by foot using night vision equipment, trying to get hold of them and then surround them and arresting them.
Ek weet waar hulle. Ek weet waar hulle. Sê net hulle moet pas op vir ons. Sê hulle moet pas op vir ons. Ons weet waar hulle.
The thief is unaware of the investigators approaching in the darkness. He's literally walking straight past them while they close in on him.
Staan stil. Staan stil. Op die reguit voor jou, Klaas, regs. Regs, Klaas. Reguit lyn toe, Klaas. Reguit lyn toe, Klaas.
The gunshots aren't aimed at the criminals, but planned in such a way that the thieves run into the investigators' net. In this case, the operation was hampered by other law enforcement agencies drawn in by the gunshots. While the thieves got away, they left their booty behind. 600 meters of conductor was stolen. The replacement value for Eskom would have been about 140,000 rand. In the rush, the criminals also left the tools of their trade, leaving telltale signs of how they operate and who they are. A few nights later, our investigative team had new information, which was plausible. This time, the chances of making an arrest were excellent. The team was deployed close to the scene. Soon, the night watch was discovered at his post. He didn't appear to notice the investigators. Meanwhile, we saw 2 of the 5 thieves making their plans. These 2 thieves are walking towards thieves number 4 and 5, waiting under the target area. Thief number 5 mans the getaway bakkie, spotted next to the road. Here they are using the tools of their trade. They're sawing. If you look carefully at the center of the circle, you'll see the cable falling. Meanwhile, thieves number 3 and 4 are carrying the cables towards the getaway bakkie. The others are following a couple of meters behind. But unbeknown to them, our investigative team is approaching stealthily. Within seconds, the game is over and the bust is made. Their spoils of just under 800 meters were recovered. We asked one of the thieves what he did for a living. He replied this was his job. In fact, 3 of the thieves were unemployed. A 4th claimed to be employed, and the driver of the bakkie got away. But he left the vehicle behind with the chainsaw strapped to it. It was already loaded with cable and ready to go when the arrest took place. The replacement cost for Eskom would have been a considerable 65,000 rand. That's without counting the losses suffered countrywide due to possible power cuts. But how much will a thief get after a night's rampage? Carte Blanche approached one established syndicate member. He says they would take down about 8 poles on a night out. This counts as 1 pole.
And how much can you get?
I get there maybe 6,000 or 7,000, depends they kill how much in this moment.
So you could get, say, 6,000 or 7,000 rand, but then you've got to split it.
Yeah, I got a bit.
Between how many guys?
For 7 guys or 8 guys.
And you've got costs, I guess, for the transport.
Yeah, we get the money for the transport, and then I pay the back in this month.
So how much do you end up with in your pocket?
In my pocket, maybe I get 500 francs or 300 francs.
Maybe 500.
Maybe 500 francs.
If you're lucky.
It's a dangerous profession, considering the remuneration. While one might assume that the cable thief's biggest fear would be getting caught, rain is the biggest enemy.
If the rain is not safe.
So you never cut in the rain?
Yeah, I never cut in the rain.
And then sometimes we have found them using branches of gum trees. And when that gum tree branch is still wet, it'll cause a dead short.
As a result, they are regularly electrocuted in the act.
He's basically cooked. Derek, his inside is basically cooked. It's horrible.
What happens when your friends do get shocked and die?
If it's dying, I live there and then go.
You just leave them there.
Yeah.
The syndicates do, however, show a great deal of flexibility when the going gets tough.
They can regroup and change their plans within the eye wink, and they'll be out of there, and they'll go and hit another place.
This group abandoned an Eskom power line in favor of a Spoornet site. They stole the cabling on this train line. If they'd chosen a spot 5 meters down, this train would have either stopped or derailed completely. While the thieves are being paid relatively little for their crimes, the effect of their actions can be devastating.
Leon, what are the losses like for Eskom?
If one look at the national road players, and now I'm referring to Eskom, Telkom and Spoornet, Metro Rail as well, we're looking at in the vicinity of about 300 million.
Leon, where do they take this cable? How do they make money out of their operation?
The stolen material is sold to scrap dealers. From there it's recycled back into the industry, and it lands up with the manufacturing industry at the end of the day.
The 300 million rand loss in cables per year is something the country can ill afford. Roy Roberts, an ex-policeman with more than 2 decades of experience, says that some scrap dealers are prepared to turn a blind eye.
They specifically will buy the material that's not easily identifiable, and they will most probably change the format thereof as well.
So furnaces appear in the most unlikely places, and the cable, marked as the property of Eskom, is transformed into marketable scrap.
And then it's not easily identifiable, and that makes it very, very difficult for us to prove our cases.
Roy, recently you intercepted a hijacked load from Zambia, 64 tons of it. What happened there?
It was from a company in Zambia, manufacturing specifically copper for South Africa. And they traveled in convoy just specifically to avoid being hijacked. But in fact, they hijacked both loads.
The hijacked load ended up with a scrap dealer in Kempton. It seems when cable supply runs low, some dealers get their hands dirty. The containers were already packed and destined for the East by Durban Harbour when the load was intercepted.
Conductor theft is mostly an African problem. Our neighbouring states have huge problems with this same crime.
But it is a dangerous job.
It's a dangerous job, man. The way to get them, man.
Are you going to carry on doing this?
Yes.
And another breakthrough this week with a major scrap dealer arrested in Gauteng. That is carte blanche for this Sunday. Be in touch on our website for any additional information or to give us your views on the show. Enjoy the Freedom of Human Rights Day. Join us next Sunday for the full carte blanche. Cheers for now.